To a few of the guys about gap and assignment and tackling and all that. Has that been keeping you up all week? Is trying to figure out what's at the heart of the problem here?
Yeah, yeah, disappointing. Obviously, the last 2 weeks with the rush yards. When watch it with the defense, we always talk about what we did well, areas we need to improve. So definitely pointing out the mistakes, and a little bit of it's execution, whether it's staying in the gap, run fits, missed tackles. Really showed up missed tackles last week. And then from my standpoint as coordinator, is just we got to have enough in the menu to stop what we're going to see, but at the same time, simple enough where we can play fast and execute.
Are you considering changing scheme at all? I know you like your personnel. Is there a scheme issue at all?
No, because we have the ability to do multiple things out of four-man front. We can also put extra D linemen on the field if we choose to. So we have to consider all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like we can't do so much that they can't execute and play fast.
At the same time, you did add a nose tackle to the practice squad. Is that something you might look to in the future, employing a pure nose tackle?
Well, I mean, I like the guys we have, but that's always something you think about, just so we get bigger inside. But I feel like the guys that are playing, this comes down to technique and comes down to us doing something differently where they can't just double you and take you off the ball. So I feel like we have answers.
Joe, I know you have injuries to deal with, but is there ever say, hey, we could use more help here, in personnel, or is that just you deal with whatever they send you?
Yeah, we're on the same page. They do a great job here, just in terms of collaboration with our personnel. So they know our concerns. Those are things that they address. I feel good about the guys that we have. It's just we have to play better.
You look at that side of the ball, like you've alluded to it. There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
And so it just, early in the season it was whatever you want to call it, breakdowns. Now it's the run defense.
Right.
Just how frustrating is it that you have good pieces to work with, but you're just not getting the production that you're looking for?
It's frustrating. I would say I'm disappointing at times, but not discouraged. I do believe we have the talent to be a top 5 defense. I mean, I've said that from the start. It's my job to get us there. We're addressing issues. We're trying to fix it. Part of it's fundamentals. Part of it's scheme. Part of it's just guys doing their job. So it's a little bit of everything. We all have to get on the same page, give them a good plan, and then we got to go out on Sunday, most importantly, and execute. Believe in it and execute.
I asked you last season how you incorporated the individual skill sets of players into your scheme and how that played into it. This year, having those and having some new guys, how have you seen that develop, and is that still a point of emphasis for you when you're developing this and putting guys out there in different situations?
Yes, for sure. You always want to find ways to activate your playmakers. Guys that you feel like can win the one-on-one, guys that can blitz, guys you feel like can win in coverage. So it's always part of the scheme. Again, we talked about it. We added some things to the scheme this offseason, but like right now, it's just let's get things settled down. Let's play clean, fundamental football. We'll still have things to get guys home and create matchups that we want, but right now, just not doing it a lot.
Have you seen a challenge in that of guys learning your scheme that maybe parts of it don't necessarily weigh heavy on their individual skill set, something they have to learn and pick up? Have you seen that as a challenge this year?
No, not really. I mean, kind of football's football, so it's nothing crazy. It's just really moving the pieces around, and they understand that. And I think the guys know it. I feel like they feel comfortable with the defense. Yeah, it's just coming down to guys feeling comfortable and executing.
Kind of sleep. How much pressure do you feel personally to get this figured out right now?
Yeah, I'm just telling the truth. That's just I don't worry about it. Like, I know it's a problem, and to me in the NFL, it's fair. The NFL is fair. If you have an opportunity, I feel like the organization provide us with good players on defense at all 3 levels. Right now, we're not performing well. There's stretches where we're doing good things, but we're not consistently playing well for 60 minutes. And it just comes with the territory. You know what I mean? But I don't for me, having red eyes is about this studying. I'm always like that. I've always been like that for 31 years coaching. But in terms of worrying about that, you can't, because if you worry about it, then it affects your decision making. It affects your thought process. So I just put my head down and say, how can we get better?
Joe, I mean, so many of these guys are back in the system, and we talked so much in the
Yeah.
preseason about they have experience, so it might
Yeah.
be easier to build off last year. I guess in
Yeah.
that way, have these issues been somewhat unexpected for you all to have to deal with this at this stage?
It is. It's weird. And there's new guys. We're in a little bit of a youth movement that we're putting in there and playing. But to me, it's just I have to find a way where they can understand things and play cleaner football. And again, they do, because a lot of stuff I always look at me first. And is this something that's too hard or is it too much? Because you want to do things like we were saying earlier, where you're activating certain guys, you're putting certain guys in certain positions. But if I'm doing too much where we can't practice it enough, where they can't execute at a high level, then that's where I got to pull back a little bit, even with having a lot of guys coming back from last season.
Is that something you're considering, though, like now?
Oh, we have been, yeah.
You talk about collaboration. The trade on a Sunday night is very unusual. How did that go down for
The trade for
Deion Jones on a Sunday night after the game?
Yeah, it was something that we talked about, so I was aware of it. But we knew we were thin at the linebacker position, just in terms of depth. And when he came available, a guy that had, played at a high level, Pro Bowl caliber player that fits in our system. He was in the same system with Dan Quinn down there in Atlanta. I just felt like it was a good trade to make, so I was happy to see it.
A week earlier, you were in Atlanta. Was that the seeds were sown?
Yeah, that's above me. You know what I mean? So I'm sure with us being down there, there may have been some initial discussions, but that's a better question for Andrew.
And can he get ready for Sunday?
It's really day to day. We know he understands the scheme, but it's the terminology, it's getting the reps. So we're going to take it day by day and make a decision, at the end of the week.
Stevenson had a really good game against you guys last year and coming off the best game of his career yardage-wise from last week. Just the process of game planning for him, and when you have a back who's that elusive and so good at picking up yards after contact.
Yeah, it's the same. For us is, what defense can we get in where we can play fast, execute, maybe give him a couple different looks. So again, we want to keep it simple, but every week there's a good back. Last week it was Eckler, so it's just the same challenge a lot of the times.
Bill Belichick is the master of taking like the most minute weakness in a team and exploiting it. And for you guys, right now, the weaknesses aren't minute; they're pretty easy to see. So
Yeah.
I know you lost a lot of sleep already this week, but just what type of challenge does that present when you're going into the week knowing you've got a lot of stuff that you got to straighten out and clean up,
Yeah.
and the guy you got to go against is Bill Belichick.
That's always tough. I mean, he's a legendary coach. He's great at what he does. We all know that they play at a high level, don't make many mistakes. But I still think you have to, what you're facing because you're going through the breakdown, you're looking at it. So we'll be ready from that standpoint. But to me, it's always about fixing what we do. Because if we're right with our fits, we're right with our gaps. If we come up with a great game plan to put them in position, then now that's when you feel confident when you rep it and the guys are executing and you're seeing it on tape. To me, that's probably the most important thing.
Both John Johnson and Kevin Stefanski both use the same term this week, talking about the tackling, and they said relentless through the football.
Yeah.
Is it more about that game tackle? I mean, obviously you don't want to miss the first tackle,
Yeah.
but maybe the bigger issue is the second and third guy not getting there?
Yeah, and it's the first guy and, the rest of the guys coming to pursuit. I put together a tackling reel. I just watched it with the guys in the afternoon meeting. But I think you have to understand, you have to have a tackling plan and understand what type of tackle that you need to make. Do I have the guy in the hole, he has nowhere to go, or is it in the open field? I got to put myself in position and get the guy on the ground. So a little bit of that is what I saw. I went back and I watched every missed tackle we had. And I put the tape together, showed the examples, and I wanted to talk to the whole group so they understood it, the back seven. And we watched that. I believe it helped them. So we'll see.
Thing, do you?
No, I don't. I don't. We're always talking about guys running to the ball. You see it on tape. We're running there, but we're missing the tackle. So we got to track properly.
How long was that reel?
It was about 20 plays altogether. 15 plays altogether, excuse me.
All this year?
Yes.
This year?
Yeah, for this season.
Greg Newsom was talking today about no peeping toms, like don't get in someone else's gap. Like, is that a huge thing right now?
It's something that always happens. It's, you know, you're locking out a guy, here comes the ball, right? I'm in the gap, and then I cross face too early. There could be a linebacker fitting or a safety fitting. So you always got to, and that's where the trust comes in. You have to maintain your gap and know that the guys are going to be in their proper gaps. So just worry about doing your job.
Joe, what's triggered this in your mind? I mean, you guys were in a terrible tackling team at the end of last year. And
Honestly, I look at it, I think the same thing. I'm just sitting there like, what's going on? So you look at it, and it comes back down to technique and fundamentals. It comes down to what you're doing in practice every day. And we work tackling a lot, but I think it's getting in a position, understanding your tackling plan. So we're just trying to incorporate more of the live movements. Maybe it's doing stuff more in space where guys have to close instead of the 5 yards away angle type tackle. So we're trying to do different things, but if you got to track the near hip, you know, we're getting a lot of cut back runs. So you got to track the near hip, and you have to just lower your pads and tackle.
Well, is it?
Kind of, sort of on the hot seat. People were calling for your job.
Oh, yeah.
Middle of the season, and you went through the same kind of thing. So, but then you guys got it turned around. So
Yeah.
does this remind you of last year, and does that give you peace to weather the storm the way that you did last year, or how are you approaching it?
Yeah, no, I mean, each year is a different challenge, and I promise everybody we're trying to do everything that we can to win. Okay, right now it's not going well in terms of the consistency. Like I said, in stretches we're doing things, but I don't worry about it. You can't. And I've been around, you know, my coaching career, just different people that maybe they listen to it more, and I've seen what it's done to them. I just believe in what I'm doing. I believe in the coaches I have around me. Just because of stuff that we've done, I believe in the players, and I just feel like if we all just work together to correct the issues, that we'll get it headed in the right direction. Huh?
when you listen to it, what does it?
Nervous.
It what?
Nervous. You know, trying to be perfect. And this game it's not going to be perfect. They're going to have pass. They're going to catch big passes. They're going to catch big runs. But for us, if we execute our technique, then those type of plays have to be perfect plays. So.
Last season, and you talked about the good stretches that you guys have had. How do you use that to create that consistency? Did that happen last year in the second half? Did you use those good moments to help push you guys along?
Well, it's momentum. It's like everything you teach, the schemes you put in, the game plans. When you go out and you have success, then the buy-in, guys buy in more. And I know that the guys buy in. I think we all see the issues from a player standpoint, from a coach's standpoint. But whenever we have an opportunity in terms of the opponent we're playing, whether it's scheme or the same opponent, we try to show those positive plays from previous years.
Cutback runs are so kind of in vogue, right? I mean, you guys do it to other teams. How do you maintain gap and assignment when somebody's just going to plant their foot and go the other direction and outrun you?
Somebody's responsible for that. You know what I mean? Within the core, you know, in terms of the gaps, when you're out in space, it's just tracking angles.
What's the, you know, you don't know which quarterback you're facing Sunday, so is there a big difference between Jones and Zappi as far as that Patriot offense?
Well, I think with Jones, he has the experience because he's played more. You can see he's more comfortable in the system, just in terms of doing more, you know, just checking things at the line of scrimmage. But I do think that Zappi's doing a really good job, especially the last game. It seems like he has control of the offense. He's making the right decisions. They're running the ball well. So they're going to do what they do, you know, and they're both capable.
If you don't have Denzel, what have you seen from Martin that gives you the confidence that he can take on a bigger load?
He's a competitor. You know, at the end of the game last week, he wanted to match up, and that was impressive. You know, I mean, he went out there 4th and 2 and made the stop, but he has that type of mindset. Very hard on himself in practice, but he's a competitor.